What's up, everybody? How we doing tonight? We got our first weekly live stream on the channel. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. These are going to be weekly live streams. Now that the season's over, there will be no more watch-alongs, but that doesn't mean the live streams, the content, any of that will go away. In today's live stream, we're going to be breaking down the NBA draft, looking at it from the Boston Celtics perspective. We're going to be looking at the possibilities of Brad Stevens as he had a press conference following Banner 18, and he got a lot of news revolving around the Boston Celtics and the possibilities of them trading in the draft, selecting in the draft, or possibly even trading out in the draft. So we're going to be breaking down all of that and more on this weekly live stream that we're going to start doing now on Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? First off, before we get into the stream, I would like to say shout out to everybody that has either a new subscriber or a new recent tuner-inner. We really do appreciate your guys' support that you guys have been showing on the channel in the last couple of days. Since the Celtics have won Banner 18, it has been absolutely crazy. We got over 100,000 views in the last 48 hours, which is just absolutely bonkers from our perspective. So I do want to say it goes without the support. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and I really, really do appreciate every single one of you. Let's get into the news. Let's get into everything today that we're going to be breaking down revolving around this draft. So, as you guys know, the Boston Celtics have two picks in the NBA draft this year. They have pick 30, the last pick in the first round, and they also have pick 54 in the second round. Now, the Boston Celtics could move up in the draft, could move back in the draft like we've seen in recent years, or they could stay firm and make selections. But like I mentioned, Brad Stevens, in his introductory press conference today, had some big news letting us know in what direction the Celtics were thinking. So let's dive and look at this. First, we're going to be looking at a tweet from Suichi Torada. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but he is a reporter for the Boston Celtics, and he says that Brad Stevens said today, this is a quote from Brad Stevens, it will be hard for any draft pick to crack a rotation when healthy. Now, this goes to tell you that even though the Celtics do have two selections and have some open roster spots, if they do add both of those selections, it will be tough for either of those players to even get into the rotation. We saw similar things with Jordan Walsh this year, where he spent a majority of his time in the G League, where he had a standout summer league and a fantastic showing. Ultimately, I think Walsh will get some better minutes this year, possibly, but expect the same thing for a selection if made tomorrow by the Boston Celtics with their draft pick, similar to Jordan Walsh this year, if that is the case. Bobby Kravitsky also had some more comments relating on this as well, where Brad Stevens says on his intentions in drafting in this draft. And he says that he has a great opportunity again to bring in somebody that will help us down the road, and says on the Celtics potentially trading out in the first round that if it's the right move, if the right guy is available, then they will select a guy in the first round. But if they do have a couple people at that time, then they will see what their options are. Ultimately, basically alluding to the fact that with the Boston Celtics having the final pick in the first round, they kind of get the last decision here. There's 4 to 5 guys that are available that Brad Stevens has in mind, or possibly 2 to 3 that he will slip into the next day because he has that last pick. He might trade back into that second round, similarly like he did last year, to move back to acquire Jordan Walsh at pick 38, even though the Celtics had him on their big board at pick 25, knowing that other teams are passing on them. Now, obviously, we're not going to see those kind of movements and implications happen rapidly because the draft is separated to 2 days now. Obviously, the afternoon will have the second day, so that will have the Celtics' second pick and featured in that day ultimately. But it's looking like the Celtics might be leaning towards making a selection in the draft this year. We want to look at this other tweet from Bobby Kravitsky as well, talking about the characteristics that Brad Stevens said on this year's draft class. And he says that he thinks that this draft class has whatever a lot of people think he says, I think at this draft class, whatever people think of at the top of it, because I'm not really paying attention to that. As you get into the meat of it, I think it's pretty deep. Stevens also added to the fact that he thinks over the next few years consistently factors into the NIL influencing players to stay in college will impact the second round, especially, once you get into the 40s in the draft selection. Looking from Gary Washburn, we have some more confirmation that Brad Stevens says he anticipates actually using the Celtics 2 draft picks at pick 34 and pick 50, where Stevens says trades will be difficult because of the second apron, where Bobby Manning kind of follows that up by Brad Stevens saying that last year was the time to trade. If you guys do not know, the Boston Celtics are in the luxury tax, and they have the second apron restrictions. By looking at their salary cap here, you can see obviously Holiday has been extended, Porziņģis has been extended, Brown was extended last offseason. Obviously, guys like Derrick White, looking forward to get that extension this offseason, and we'll have a bunch of news breaking down on that. Kind of have a price revealed around $31.75 million initially for Derrick White if he wants to stay in Boston and sign an extension. And Jayson Tatum's Supermax has already been laid out. The contract has already been established for us, and we already know what that's going to be like. Once obviously the festivities and all the celebrations happen, once free agency starts, ink will go right to the paper and he will sign that big contract. Therefore, as we know, the Celtics are going to be strapped into the cap for a long period of time. Even with Peyton Pritchard still being on the team, even with Horford still being on the team, even with Sam Hauser having a team option and Neemias Queta having a team option as well, both of those guys hopefully will be coming back. But ultimately, that leaves the Boston Celtics with some open spots. O'Shea Brissett has already declined his player option, and we broke how that down, which most likely hints to him leaving and going after more money, which makes sense for O'Shea Brissett as he can get a bigger role on another team. Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman are both unrestricted free agents, and even though the Boston Celtics do have the bird rights to those players, like I mentioned, the Celtics have Jordan Walsh already on the roster, and they already have a guy in Neemias Queta who they can pick up on a cheap team option. It's looking like possibly one of those guys could be gone due to the fact that they could command money in free agency because they had nice regular seasons and playoff performances with this Celtics core. And they've also shown to this team that they can ultimately be those guys and play backup minutes. Now, my personal opinion, I personally would like to keep Tillman, but we made a video about that as well. And go check that out if you guys would like as well. You guys can go see what that has to break down. Now, ultimately, this Celtics team is going to have some open spots. Svi is also a free agent, and they have some two-way options as well. Drew Peterson and J.D. Davidson, obviously, both entering restricted free agency on that end. So the Celtics do have some flexibility, do have some options, and could bring some guys in on the NBA draft. Now, looking at this picture here, I want to give courtesy to somebody in the Discord, Rob version 1. Shout out to Rob. He has been fantastic in talking in the Discord, and he provided us with this image here in our Discord talking about the Boston Celtics and looking at players that they have looked at and have analyzed to possibly bring in as draft people to draft at pick 30 at pick 54. Now, obviously, there are some players that are under the rankings, some players that are over the rankings that the Celtics have looked at here. But ultimately, I do think that the Celtics can make some smart decisions with some of these people that they've already looked at. And those are some of the guys that we're going to be covering and breaking down in this live stream. But before we get into that, if you guys do want to join the Discord, if you want another place to chat about Celtics content similar to like a Reddit, I'm going to post the Discord link down below in the chat. And you guys can just go on and click that link and you can get into the Discord where you can interact with a bunch of Boston Celtics fans. Like I said, very similar to a Reddit where we can talk draft, talk free agency, talk anything Boston Celtics. There's other teams in there as well from the Digest Media group. We got teams like the Raptors, we got teams like the Mavericks, the Thunder just got in there. So if you want to interact, find out about other fan bases as well, that is a place definitely to go hang out and definitely talk about the Boston Celtics because it's going to be popping off. And with the offseason, with all the news, all the rumors, if you want to stay interested, up to date with everything, that is where you're going to want to stay up to date because some fans might, like Rob today, sent me this image for me to find on hoopshype.com. You can have those type of insider information and insider things or insider articles that are going on behind the scenes in finding video topics, which is, I think, also good. Sorry, needed a little bit of a water break there. But ultimately, what do you guys think down below in the chat? As we say, this is an interactive stream as much as it is me. It is about you guys, the community, everybody hanging out. So drop down your thoughts down below about the draft. Do you think Brad Stevens, now like we said, And like we have gone over in this video, Stevens has said that last year was a time to trade, and we saw that. Brad Stevens moved back multiple times to acquire 3 or 4 additional second round picks, still get the guy he wanted at pick 25, and then he used those second round picks to acquire guys like Jaden Springer and guys like Xavier Tillman, who are impactful for the Celtics in their playoff run this year. More Xavier Tillman, but Springer was still a solid defensive point guard, and I still think brings what the Celtics wanted out of Delano Banton at a better percentage. I think Delano Banton needs 15 to 20 shots to be good, and I think he could be good on a bad team where he's getting reps, but ultimately that's not what he needs to be on the Boston Celtics. Jaden Springer is a young defensive talent who can come in, and like somebody said in my comment section down below, can be a guy like Jrue Holiday, can be that type of replacement, and that's ultimately what I think Brad Stevens did in that scenario. Bringing in a guy like Jaden Springer to kind of replace Jrue Holiday as he gets older, and bringing in a guy like Xavier Tillman to phase out Al Horford as he gets older, I think that is the key for the Celtics' success. But like I mentioned, Gary Washburn works for the Boston Globe, says that Brad Stevens anticipates using the Celtics 2 draft picks at pick 30 and pick 54. And honestly, that's kind of crazy to me because ultimately that shows to me that Brad Stevens wants to make selections in the draft. He feels confident with these guys. And even though that some of them will not be cracking the rotation, we will have some nice depth, possible two-way guys, nice guys in the summer league, nice guys for the G League to grow. The Maine Celtics were fantastic this year. Unfortunately, fell short in the championship, but they made it there. And with bringing back a majority of the team, or even integrating some nice new young talent alongside those guys, this Maine Celtics team and Boston Celtics team could be both very strong for a very long time. And that's what Celtics fans want to hear, want to see, and want to talk about. Ultimately, when kind of breaking this down and thinking about it, seeing Brad Stevens select in the first round will be crazy. If you guys do not know, Brad Stevens has never selected in the first round ever in an NBA as the GM in the NBA draft. He has always either never had a pick, traded out of that pick for a player, or is traded back to the second round, similarly like last year. And I think something similar like that could possibly happen this year. Maybe this is a smokescreen, or maybe he's actually going to make his first selection. He wants to make a selection on draft day. He's going to take one at pick 30. One of the Bleacher Report trades, mock trades that we kind of broke down, talked about bringing in Kel'el Ware, who's in our thumbnail picture, if that's who you guys are seeing. He's a athletic, big, who I think could be really useful for this Celtics team. 7 foot, can rim protect, can shoot the three ball. Really nice at Indiana. Also, Kevin Ware's brother. I believe that if the Celtics were able to get him, that would be an actual standout piece. Could be another, mixture of an Al Horford and Kristaps Porziņģis-esque type big, especially with Kristaps Porziņģis having his injuries. Another rim protector is always needed, and with a guy like Al Horford getting up and older, having another big that can stretch out the floor as well is also appreciated alongside of him. Now, I think, especially if they lose Xavier Tillman and they bring back Luke Kornet. Now, ultimately, that's up to the Boston Celtics, and I think that if they have to get Kel'el Ware, they're going to have to trade up. I think the only way to acquire him is to move up in the draft because I think there's going to be personally a lot of teams that want him, and I think he has the upside to be very dominant. I think he's a low end of the lottery, like pick maybe mid first rounds, like 16 to 20, maybe 22 stretching it. So ultimately, I think the Celtics would have to trade up to get that, which I don't know if that's on Brad Stevens' mind, especially with him saying trades are harder, trades were easier last year. I don't necessarily see him trading up. I think necessarily the only thing that I can see him doing is trading back and then um, selecting somebody there, or either holding firm at pick 30, selecting someone at that pick, and then at pick 54, also acquiring somebody. Because then those two people can kind of, fill in those empty roster spots for Svi and Brissett. You bring back, obviously, one of Tillman or Cornette, and then you still have one open roster spot. Or if you bring back both, then your team is fully set, 15 as you're ready to go. And then you don't even have to touch anything, tweak anything, just sign extensions and do that. But as we know, that's a difficult type of thing, and that's going to be tough. But I expect Neemias to be back. If anybody wonders about that, I expect Neemias to be back. Sam Hauser's had some talks about possibly, it's weird. They can either, there's like 3 options you can go with Sam Hauser. I read Keith Smith's article about it, and it was like they can either like decline it and extend him now and give him like a cheaper contract similar to Pritchard, how they did last year. They can decline it and make him an outright restricted free agent next season, or they can just pick up the option and make him an unrestricted next year, which I don't know if I like that. Well, let's look at the chat. Let's see what everybody's talking about. See how you guys are doing today. Appreciate everybody in here. T Snizzle was in here earlier chatting it up. Sir Holdington's in here as well. What's up? What's up? What do you think of the Celtics go for? Okay, who do you think we should go for? As a Celtics fan, I want Zach Edey, says T Snizzle. T Snizzle, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Zach Edey's gonna be there, and that's kind of crazy because I'm not even that big. I'm not even that high on Zach Edey. I know he's really, really tall, but I don't think his game is gonna translate that well into the NBA. I think he's very, very slow on the defensive side, and I don't know how he's going to be able to fight against these stronger and musclier bigs. Now he could prove me wrong, but I always like my friends will make fun of me for this, but like I never really thought Luka Garza was going to be anything big, and I mean he's still. I didn't think he was going to make the NBA, and he made the NBA, and he plays on the Minnesota Timberwolves G League and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Like the players that are really really good in college, the 4 year players that win those awards are college athletes. They're good and they're known for playing at college. Players like Luke May and stuff like that. They are known the freshmen, the sophomore. Sometimes there's some good juniors and seniors that blossom and come out. Don't get me wrong, but they're they shine their senior year in a transfer or something like that. They're not going to school playing all 4 years like a Colin Gillespie or something like that. Those are the guys that dominate the G League and stuff. And ultimately, Zach Edey, I mean, he has the height, so I think it can translate. I mean, basketball is very. If you're 7 foot, you're gonna have a. It's gonna be a game's gonna be a little bit easier for you to get rebounds and to excel in your position. But if he can keep up with them on the court, then yeah. But if he can't keep up with it and he's a little too slow, then that might be the issue. BX is in here. What's up, BX? How we doing? I love all the OGs in here. Shout out to you guys for popping in. Clean music lovers in here. What's up? Saying he wants Tyler Smith. Okay, I've heard some things about Tyler Smith. I've seen him in my comment section. I believe you've been in my comment section screaming about him. Is I believe he is a G League Ignite guy, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Maybe Kyle Flip if he falls as Josh Crampton. I know that you like those Duke boys, Crampy, but yeah, that's another guy as well. Similar as Kel'el Ware. I think Flip should have honestly went in the draft last year. He was a lot projected lottery pick. Could have been solid there as a freshman. Ultimately went back to Duke because he felt like in the second half of the season in that March Madness tournament they turned things around. They looked nice, so they could have a bounce back year, which I don't blame him in doing. But it ultimately did not work and it lowered his draft stock a little bit, which is a little bit tough. Now, I think Flip is in the same situation as Kel'el Ware. End of the lottery, 15, 16, 18, 20-ish range. And I don't know who's picking. I don't know who's picking around that range, but I'm sure that a plethora of those teams that are around that range would utilize a guy in Flip. Again, he's another big man who can shoot the ball, pretty solid rim protector as well. Basically has all the tools that you want for a solid big man. Can play the four, can play the five, very interchangeable. I would definitely like a guy in Kyle Filipowski as well if he's available at pick 30. I just don't know if he'll be there. I think if the Celtics want to get a guy like him or get a guy like Kel'el Ware, they have to move up in the draft, and that will require trading pick 30 with either additional assets at the set of a player or to either salary dump or to move off a contract or possibly even using additional draft capital like pick 54 and an additional second round pick that the Celtics have. Yeah, clean music lover. I agree. I think Edey is too slow. That's my one issue with Zach Edey. I just don't know if his game is going to really be able to translate to the NBA court. And I've been saying that. My aunt was freaking out about Purdue. Huge fan of Purdue over there during the March Madness tournament. Got some money off my cousin for it because we were hating on Purdue for choking. But nah, Queta will be back. That's what I'm saying. I think Queta will be back too. I'm excited to see how Neemias Queta plays as well with this team. I think he can develop, and I think he can also pan out to be a solid big man in this rotation. I was very high on Neemias Queta when he got signed with the Boston Celtics. He was the runner-up for G League MVP. He's a guy that has all the tools to be a rim protector at his finest and a great quality shot blocker, with also having the rim running ability and high fly lob threat ability as a Robert Williams. He has that high energy offensive rebounding that the Celtics basically didn't really have at that offensive big man. I mean, it showed up in the playoffs, but through the regular season, they didn't have that one key guy that was doing that and contributing to that all the time. And that's a guy like Neemias Queta who I think can really implement that in the Celtics team. We saw last year him have a stellar performance in the Western Conference road trip where he really stepped up with Luke Kornet being sidelined and Kristaps Porziņģis being out, taking a big load of minutes in a short period of time, in a short notice of time as well. But ultimately, a guy like Neemias Queta, I think last year struggled a little bit too much at finishing at the rim and struggled at being a little bit too much of a foul threat to be able to warranty or guarantee as much minutes or prowess in that front court. But I do think, obviously, he had a full year to play with the G League, and in the G League, when he was on a two-way deal, he was a G League standout. He can't be in awards because he's on a two-way, but he's a menace when he's down there, of course. So you obviously implement that fact to adding him to the Boston Celtics. You then add him into the fact that he's training now with Porzingis and Al Horford for an entire offseason, and with this Boston Celtics franchise and training staff for an entire offseason. Because let's not forget, Neemias Queta was our last two-way due to the fact that we had three full, or no, excuse me, he was our second two-way. Jrue Peterson was our last two-way, excuse me, but Neemias Queta as a two-way was not picked up until the end of the season. He was on a 10-day scale contract, and then that honestly translated into a two-way. So ultimately, he made the team, and he was a solid player for this team, but he never got the full time to really grow and play with them in the off season. So I think adding that again to his bag, and we see how Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis are so dominant offensively. Joe Mazzulla's head coaching staff, what they can do so quickly in an offseason, turning around, getting absolutely embarrassed in a game seven with Tatum twisting his ankle, trying to come back from a 3-0 deficit, to ultimately then having the one of the best regular seasons of all time and dominating in the playoffs, only losing 3 games in an entire finals run, going 16-3, with doubting all the haters, with one of their stars out. Neemias Queta, I think, if he gets in with the right team, if he gets in with this team, if he fits in, if they work him truly, I think he can be that Rob Williams-esque type guy. And that's why I personally would rather keep Xavier Tillman to have him be that Al Horford-esque type big, and I have Neemias Queta be that, backup five. And I was preaching that ever since last season. We need a replacement for Horford. I think Tillman's more of that wave, or maybe even a Jordan Walsh kind of building into that role. Facts. Me personally, keep Xavier Tillman, get rid of Luke Kornet. I never liked Kornet. I mean, I've liked both. I definitely have liked both, but I think Tillman would be a better fit. Taco was too slow. Yeah, Taco was too slow, unfortunately. And that's the thing. Like, you look at those bigger bigs, even Bull, like, he hasn't really been given that much of an opportunity, but is it due to the fact that he, like, in practice and behind the scenes, he's too slow? He's not quick enough? Like, I know the Suns want to bring him back. There's still some potential with him there, as he's, in some instances, he never really got to get any playing time, but I would like to see. I think they all kind of fall in a similar boat. Like you like Terrence Shannon? Okay, Terrence Shannon. What school did he go to? Taco Fall would never block my. What about OG Anunoby? What's his status? He's a free agent. So yes, Robert, OG Anunoby is a free agent. So my knowledge is that he's going back to the Knicks. His player option was $19.9 million. As we all know, OG Anunoby is worth more than $19.9 million. So in my eyes, I think that was a smart decision and the right decision. Saw the report was like 48 million. I don't think he's going to get that, but I think he's working and talking with the Knicks, and I think he'll get around 40 to 45 million dollars in a contract with the Knicks 4 to 5 years. Yeah, I don't we can't get OG Anunoby, sadly. You see him windmilling him. That's hilarious. All right, all right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's gonna fall to the second round. I don't think he's gonna fall to pick 30. I think he's gonna be a top. I think he'll go top 20. I don't see any way of him falling below that. Or a team will trade up to the top 20 to select a guy in Zach Edey. Sorry if you're my dog. Any news on Jay Scrubb? So unfortunately, I do not know any news on Jay Scrubb at the moment. To my knowledge, I do follow him on Instagram, so I will let you know. Jay Scrubb, huge fan of him when he was supposed to come over here. Share the same birthday to a T, but never actually got to see him play, unfortunately. But he rehabbed with this Celtics team, so he did get waived, so he's not technically on the roster, but he was able to use the main Celtics training facilities as his rehab for his torn ACL and MCL. So due to the fact of that, I think the Celtics we'll definitely look at him. I don't know if it's a guarantee he'll come back due to the fact of how who knows how he is off this rehab, but I do best believe that if the Celtics let him use their facilities, they wanted to give this guy an opportunity. It was a no con it was I believe a practice injury that he suffered where he tore it. They wanted to give this guy a run. They believed in him. They truly saw something in him and being a two-way guy and possibly even being an NBA ready guy on their team or another team. And I don't think that the Celtics organization would just let that go. I think that they'll definitely, at the most, work him out and see him through. And if he doesn't look, like broken or like absolutely hurt, then I think that he'll be a guy that they'll definitely look into and definitely consider bringing back if he looks healthy off of his injury. If he doesn't look healthy and it's not looking great, then that injury might have unfortunately could have cost him what his opportunity was. But for the best of Jay Scrubb, I'm hoping that he is okay. I will keep my eyes on Instagram. I will keep my eyes on Twitter, and I will try to figure it out. Comments are blowing up today. Shout out you guys. Again, drop down your thoughts. Drop how you guys are feeling about the draft, what you guys think. Like we mentioned, if you guys are new, we kind of talked about it, but Brad Stevens had a press conference kind of breaking it down, going over this Celtics team and what they're going to do for the NBA draft. He said that the Celtics most likely will make their selections at pick 30 and 54 due to the fact that it is harder to trade with the second apron. It was easier to trade last season moving back. Don't expect the Celtics necessarily to move up, but if they are to trade out, maybe trading back. But I wouldn't expect them trading their picks for a player. I wouldn't expect them trading their picks up. I would expect them to either make both their selections or make one selection and trade back in another instance. But again, let me know how you guys are feeling. Any prospects that you guys like? Are there anybody that screams out to you that you guys would like the Boston Celtics to look after? I'm going to pull up this image in the Discord so that I can see. And like I mentioned, if you want to join the Discord, if you want to be a part of the fun here, pinned comment, come down. It is a Celtics Reddit that we are having over there in the Celtics Discord. Super fun, super engaging. But yeah, let's look at this list here. I got the list pulled up on my phone. Oh, I do not. That's the Nets. We're not looking at the Nets. Celtics Draft Workouts 2024. Luke definitely made a difference for us. I'm not saying that he didn't. He's huge. I'm saying that if they have to bring back one of them, I think that developing Queta and having Tillman is my preferred option. But in the most likely instance, to be honest, Luke's going to come back because he's going to take the team friendly contract because he's been with the team for a while, and they'll have him and Queta, and they'll probably lose Tillman. Queta should have played more minutes. I think so. Quinton Post in the second round. Okay, Quinton Post. Let's see if the Celtics worked out him. They did not, unfortunately. Celtics players they did work out some notable names. Jalen Williams, not obviously the Jalen Williams in the NBA on the Thunder, but another one. JT Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother. Cormac Ryan from North Carolina, the shooter. Uh, they got a guy from New Zealand. Let's see. Jalen House, Eddie House's son, Jalen House, Coleman Hawkins from Illinois, Jesse Edwards, West Virginia, Judah Mintz from Syracuse, Blake Hinson from Pittsburgh, Antonio Reeves, Kentucky, Enrique Freeman, Akron. I've heard very good things about him. Justin Edwards from Kentucky, Ryan Dunn from Virginia, and Baylor Shireman from Creighton. Baylor Shireman is somebody that I do want to talk about. I know a lot of people have covered Baylor Shireman already, but as somebody that went to Seton Hall in the Big East, watched Creighton play, against Seton Hall. Baylor Shireman is somebody that the Boston Celtics are going to want. Letting you know right now, he fits the team. He fits what the Celtics want to have. No Kornet means Horford plays high minutes during regular season, more likely him getting injured, not being available postseason. I don't think so. I think that allows for more minutes for Queta to develop. There's also the possibility of them going out in free agency and getting some additional front court help as well, possibly in the 4 position, in the 5 position. That's what I'm thinking. Quentin Post went to BC. All right, all right. 7-footer hometown kid. That's somebody I like. That's somebody I like. That's somebody I definitely like. Oh, we got some more comments here. Cornette can shoot the 3, but we don't need him. Quentin is a 7-footer who shoots the 3 as well. Right, exactly. That's perfect. That's perfect. 7-footer, 3-point shooter. Even better if you can get him in the second round. Come on, baby. Come on. No need to trade up for Kel'el Ware then. Queta needs more seasons. He was getting cooked by second string players. He had moments, but he's not enough consistency. Yes, exactly. That's the whole reason for him getting this whole offseason with this team and developing and getting better and practicing. Oh, this is the Illinois kid. Okay, I do know who this is. I do know who this is. Okay. Okay, Antonio, I know who this is. Yes. I heard his draft stock rose. So yeah, I mean, personally with the Boston Celtics, when looking at the draft, when looking at these moves, when looking at this type of things, right? Let's pull this back up here. Let's get right here. Wrong one I hit. Sorry. Where is it? It's this one? No, this one? Nope, this one. Here we go. Here we go. Looking at the salary cap here, like I mentioned, looking at those free agents, Luke Cornett, Xavier Tillman, O'Shea Brissett, and Steve Mykhailiuk. That means the Celtics will automatically lose at least 4 players to free agency, which has the Celtics having 11 players currently under contract, 9 currently at the moment with Hauser and Queta both having team options. With both of those guys expecting to be back with the Boston Celtics, that allows you to have 4 roster spots, ultimately allowing you to draft either 2 guys or having the possibility of drafting 1 guy and using 3 spots in free agency. I think Brad is going to take 2 guys in the draft. I think he'll draft. Now that I'm thinking about it, he's going to draft at pick 30. He's going to take a pick 30. He's going to go after. I think he'll go big because we've been looking at bigs this whole entire time. I think we'll go big, man. We'll look at that 4-5 position, select someone there that can shoot the 3 ball and be a great rim protector. And then ultimately, think after that, they'll look for some wing defender-esque type to kind of fill in for that Brizzy type role. And then someone that I would like them to go out and get in the offseason. And this, you guys can let me know down below in the comment section how you guys feel about this. But there's 2 guys that if they don't bring back Svi, that I think can bring a similar role that Svi does, but are a bit bigger in their position and they're like a bit taller and a bit better at defense to where they're not as much as a catch and shoot and playing the 2, but they can fill in for that 3 position just in case Sam Hauser isn't generating as much offense or defense that night. And those 2 guys would be 2 veterans, and Joe Harris and Joe Ingles. I think that if the Boston Celtics get either one of those guys on a veteran minimum contract and we're able to bring either of them into the Boston Celtics, both of those guys could be high profile, good veteran locker room guys. No, I'm not asking Joe Ingles and Joe Harris to play minutes a game. I'm asking them to be good veterans in the locker room, good teammates, and good role models for these younger guys. Good representations for Jayson Tatum, for Jaylen Brown, for Derrick White, for Jrue Holiday, for all these guys, but also to help out with the younger guys. Help out with Pritchard, help out with Hauser, help out with Queta, help out with Tillman, help out with all those guys. And I think that Ingles and I think guys like Joe Harris could really help Sam Hauser turn up and be a better 3-and-D wing for the Boston Celtics. But let me know what you guys think down below. I know they're a little bit older. They wouldn't play minutes. They'd be playing around with Svi plays, around those that 5 to 8 minutes maybe. in a blowout. Yes, KP should be back for next season. We will have more updates on that, Crampy. Our latest video talked about it. Brad said that he is going to need surgery and that he is going to be out, but there is no timetable on his return. They're talking to all the doctors and trying to figure that out. He'll be getting surgery in the next recent days, will not be playing in the Olympics. No worries, T Snizzle. Peace out. Thank you for joining in. Shout out to you, my guy. Shout out to T Snizzle. Shout out to everybody commenting. I really do appreciate everybody. Clayton says, Queta has almost no lateral movement. How can he stay on defense? That switches everything. Well, that's the problem. That's exactly the issue. Is with Neemias Queta last season is his defense on the pick and roll was not the greatest. He'd ultimately have to foul at that point, and then his finishing at the rim wasn't the greatest. I think that those are the three things he needs to work on. If he works on them, develops them, gets better. Let's not forget that Neemias Queta is not that old, ladies and gentlemen. It's not like Neemias Queta's 30. He can play for this team and play solid minutes and still be a quality piece. Again, could be that third big. I'm not asking him to automatically be that second big, but if he's that third big for this team and then ultimately looks decent and can get some second big minutes, I'll take it. You're still going to have Horford. You're still going to have KP. You can have Walsh either grow. You can go out in free agency and go get another guy as well. Like we said, Brad Stevens said, these guys that are going to be playing are not going to be playing on this roster. Right. Let's see. Let's look at some comments here. Looking at some comments here as well. Trying to figure what you guys are talking about. Let's look. It's going to be a little easier on the phone, so let's do that. Tice back from Marty Party. You like to get Tice back. So that's another question too. That could be another. See, I'm in the camp of Tice is nice, don't get me wrong, but this is for the third time, do it. Just do it. Bring him back. He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. On LA, he was a decent backup big. Again, he'd be a body to throw out there. He can grab rebounds. He can finish around the rim. Isn't the greatest foul, greatest at not committing fouls, but that's a guy I definitely would like to possibly look at as well. And I think he would have interest coming back to Boston, specifically with them winning as well. That was obviously a goal of his when he was here, when he was competing with this squad. So I think that'd be something that he'd like to push forward for as well. But yeah, I think Tice might be a little too small. He might be a backup power forward at that because he's what 6'7", 6'8", I believe. He's not that tall. I don't believe he's that tall. But what do you guys think for the draft? What are your guys' thoughts and stuff like that before as we're talking and going over the stream? We're gonna be wrapping up the stream, not now, but in like 15 minutes. So want to kind of get your thoughts, want to kind of get your guys' opinions down below before we kind of, get into wrapping everything up. So if you guys have got any thoughts of possibly trading up, trading back, what do you guys want to see the Celtics do? Is there a specific player that you guys want? Let us know down below in the comment section. We can discuss, we can talk about it. Like I said, if you want to talk about Boston Celtics, know about the Boston Celtics, find out more about this team, find out all the inside information. Look at the pinned comment. Click the Discord, join the Discord, come in the Celtics chat. It is flooded with Celtics messages. We're trying to grow the community there as much as we are on YouTube. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically a Celtics Reddit page. All you do is sit in there, chat, talk about the Celtics, have some communications, have some more personal communications with me instead of commenting and reading and replying to your comment. We can have more of a detailed conversation going back and forth. You get kind of more personal with me, get to kind of know more of my thoughts. That's some more similar thing. I think it's super fun, super engaging, and I want to get it more popping for the Celtics. I want it to get more fun for me and to be more involved in it. So with you guys joining, that can definitely help that as well. You guys have been absolutely killing it on the streams and helping out and liking the video, subscribing to the channel. Absolutely just amazing. And I can't show you guys how much undivided support I have for you guys. It really, really does mean the world. Like I mentioned, the Celtics, just because they won Banner 18, it doesn't mean that the content is going to stop here throughout the offseason. like I mentioned, these streams that we're having right now, this stream, it's going to become a weekly thing. I know a lot of people are new to the channel, they don't really know, but we had watch along live streams throughout the entire season. Now we're getting into these weekly live streams. We're going to have some guests occasionally. We'll shout out when we have some guests. We're going to do these weekly live streams every single week, probably on Tuesdays around this time, 7 o'clock. So try to keep that up to date. But we'll have weekly live streams. This was talking about the draft, kind of going over that. The next live stream that we're going to be having next week, we'll focus on free agency, kind of going over the second apron. We'll have some more questions answered as well because we'll know who the Celtics either selected in the draft or did not select in the draft, or if they made a trade or if they didn't make a trade. We'll know all those answers at that point. We'll then also know how many roster spots are completely open, how many two-way spots are open, what does our salary cap look like. By that point as well, I expect maybe Jayson Tatum to have an extension signed, or possibly even Derrick White to have an extension signed, or the schematics of Derrick White's contract kind of outlined at that point. So we'll have a lot of news to break down with that. And then obviously there's going to be a lot of trade rumors, lots of potential signings. Celtics last season had a lot of potential workouts with a lot of guys, so I do expect to see the similar thing as well. You saw that with guys like Neemias, Queta, Wenyen Gabriel, Lamar Stevens. All those guys were workout guys, 10-day contract guys, and I could see the Celtics doing something similar this year, especially with being in the second apron, trying to get as many guys as possible in the gym to get looks at, to really find out who could be that standout piece to fill out that role that they specifically need. Because we saw that last season, and they did that to a perfect T. They got a bunch of good quality guys at the end of the bench, guys like Lamar Stevens, O'Shea Brissett, Svi Mykhailiuk, Delano Banton, and they ultimately said, all right, you guys are going to compete with top dogs, the guys that have been in the NBA for a while, the guys that have held some quality spots. And at the end of this, whoever starts standing out, whoever starts prepping, whoever starts booming, you're going to stay. And then if we find a guy that can look better for a better role, we'll do that. Banton was supposed to do that defensive stopping guard. Jaden Springer, I think, ultimately does that a little bit better. They moved him for that. Brissett and Lamar Stevens, both 3 and D, kind of scrappy offensive wings, could be, or defensive wings, could be a good hype man. Which one really fit the scheme more? Brissett kind of dominated in that role a little bit more. Then they said, all right, we'll move on from Lamar Stevens. Let's go get a switchable big in Xavier Tillman. I expect Brad Stevens to do similar things with this roster, especially with looking at how it's going to, kind of be placed in front of us, like we've mentioned, like we've kind of gone over in the stream today, as we've kind of talked about. Holiday is locked up. Porziņģis is locked up. Tatum is locked up. Brown is going to be locked up. White is going to be locked up. Horford is going to be locked up. Pritchard is going to be locked up. So Kornet, Brissett, Mykhailiuk, and Tillman are the only 4 free agents on this team. Drew Peterson, J.D. Davidson, they're both two-way restricted free agents. Both of those guys, I don't know if they're for sure going to be back with this Celtics team, but I would expect to be back with the Boston Celtics because I think J.D. Davidson can still be a nice, bright, young offensive spark for the Celtics squad. I think Drew Peterson, depending on how they do Sam Hauser's contract, if they do get an extension with him or if they don't, I think he possibly could be a replacement if they don't get that long-term deal done with Sam Hauser. Let's kind of look at the chat here. Let's get some more talk going on. Celtics will have 3 7-footers. Tice can play power forward center. He's fine as a backup. Marty Party wants that Tice. He wants that Tice bandwagon. How many people want Tice? How many people want Tice? Drop down if you want Tice. Let's see. Who wants Tice? Tice is nice. What about PJ Hall, center from Clemson, second round? Maybe if we trade back. Well, we have a second round pick. We have the 54th pick, and that's another guy from Clemson, PJ Hall. I really, really liked him as well. He obviously had a nice standout run in the March Madness tournament, and I think with PJ Hall, he might be more of like a story similar to like a Carson Edwards type guy, but take the shot on it, mine as well, especially if Brad's saying that these guys are not getting like Brad has said, these guys are not going to crack our rotation when healthy. So might as well go get him, develop him in the G League, have another big man down there. He can again do everything that we want. Rim protect, shoot the 3 ball. It's not like he's a traditional big who's just a rim like a Clint Capella. All the bigs that the Celtics look at can do everything on the floor. They're a 5-tool player. They can shoot the ball. They can protect the rim. They can do whatever they need to do. And that's what he ultimately can bring for the Boston Celtics in a unique possible way and could be, a diamond in the rough as well. Thomas Bryant. Ooh, haven't heard this name in a while, not going to lie. Thomas Bryant would also fit the bill as a ring chaser and provides good center depth. That is another guy. Washington Wizards legend, believe, played with the Nuggets as well. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but Thomas Bryant. I would not mind Thomas Bryant. That is a quality. I think Thomas Bryant at this point might be more of a third big, but I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't. I think Thomas Bryant might be more of a workout type of guy. Like I was just mentioning a couple minutes ago. I think that if you bring Thomas Bryant in for a workout and you see how he performs and he looks good, then for sure. But I don't know if Thomas Bryant warrants an immediate signing. But that's a name that it could be a very good quality big. I would like, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Svi is probably gone. That's what I'm saying. I think Svi's most likely gone. So the replacement for Svi that I like is Joe Harris or Joe Ingles, just as a nice veteran piece, and they kind of play. They share that role, can play that 2-3 a little bit better at playing that 3 role. But also, you're not going to ask those guys to go out there and play impactful minutes at this point of their age. They're not wanting to go play impactful minutes. They want to win a ring. They want to be a veteran leader. They want to help the development. And I think both of those guys could be helpful for Sam Hauser's development as well, with him learning how to get better with his shot and just having a mentor as well. Similar to how Al Horford can mentor Tillman and how Holiday and Derrick White can mentor Springer. Having these vets in the building with these young core guys automatically makes kind of unlocks them and can maybe even turn them into those similar style of players, and not allowing them to have maybe one really good big season, getting overpaid, and then dwindling down and never becoming themselves again. That's something that we want to see with the Celtics team. We want to see a dynasty be born. The Celtics won Banner 18. They stripped down that 16-year drought of not having a championship, of being hated on, being clowned on, being absolutely disrespected all over social media, being told, "Oh, you haven't won a championship since slavery and all that type of stuff, and since segregation and everything." Like, stop. Just like, come on. Like, we are a good team and we're going to push for that dynasty. And I'm sure that Brad Stevens is going to want to continue to do that. So adding these young players with these great veterans definitely brings that versatility for the Celtics. So Dev, we released a video on this today at like 5 o'clock. If you want to check it out after the live stream. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's People are gonna say Boston's gonna make it bigger than it thinks and yada yada yada, but calling Scalabrine a coward, a guy who works for NBC Sports Boston, is a little disrespectful in my eyes, especially when he's, you know, works with another one of your former teammates in Eddie House, and we've seen Rajon Rondo, and we've seen guys in Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, even Ray Allen be at Game 5. Like, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. Joe Mazzulla said he wanted everybody to come back. Everybody from the 2008 team could be there. And then Perk saying, "Oh, even if I was invited, I wouldn't go." All right, all right. Tice will be needed if Big Al retires next year. I don't know if he's necessarily needed, but I think he'd be nice for an additional option. So Blake Griffin, unfortunately, is retired at the moment, so I don't believe that he'll be coming out of retirement. Moses Brown. So Moses Brown, somebody that the Celtics have had under contract. Believe they acquired him when they traded for Al Horford, and then they moved him. They got him in some deal with OKC. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Ultimately, I like him. Young potential. Hasn't really proved himself in the NBA though. He is a young piece. Most likely a G League type of guy, but could be effective. What's up, Ice Wallow Comb? What's up, Ice Wallow Comb? How we doing? Ice Wallow Comb's also in the Discord. So like I mentioned, if you want to chat with Ice Wallow Comb, chat with Rob, chat with me, make sure you stay up to date with everything revolving around this team. Join the Discord down below, because that's where we're gonna be chilling. That's where we're gonna be hanging out. That's where we're gonna be having our fun. So let me know what you guys are thinking. We're going to be wrapping up the stream shortly here, talking about the draft, talking about our thoughts, predictions, players that we liked. Honestly, my final predictions here, I'm just going to give it to you. Brad Stevens is going to take 2 selections in the draft. He's going to make it at pick 30. He's going to make it at pick 54. I'm calling it right now. It's already been told by us that he most likely will from Gary Washburn, but I think that that's what he's going to do. I don't think that this is a smokescreen. I don't think that he'll trade back. I don't think he'll trade up. I don't think he'll trade out. I think that there are going to be a plethora of guys that the Celtics like at pick 30 that will be available. I think they will select one. And if there's not a guy available at pick 30 that they like, they'll trade back, get additional draft capital, and use maybe either both of those picks to select guys and put them both in the G League on 2 ways and go after veteran ready guys for the rest of their roster to fill it out. Or make one selection and then keep trading back for additional draft capital like they did last year, similarly when drafting Jordan Walsh, and ultimately trying to stack up for the offseason when they want to make swaps on potential end of the bench players to make some impactful moves. Similarly, how they did this trade deadline when acquiring Jaden Springer and Xavier Tillman for Delano Banton and Lamar Stevens. But let me know what you guys think. The draft is tomorrow. So we will be not live during the draft. That's why we went live today, to kind of break down these thoughts, kind of get everything out to you guys, talking about this Celtics team and stuff like that in preparation for the draft. But tomorrow we'll have some videos going out talking about any news that the Celtics have. And then during the draft, if the Celtics make a selection at pick 30 or make a trade or do anything of that nature, I will keep you updated. Now, obviously, if the Celtics trade back and get additional draft capital, we might not warrant a video for it. We might do a full draft recap for the Celtics. But if the Boston Celtics do make a selection, regardless if it's pick 30, if they trade up, whatever, we'll have videos coming out for you guys, keeping you up to date on who they draft, why they drafted him, detailing the draft, going over everything revolving around that player, deep diving, looking at his skill sets, all that type of jazz. I'm excited for the draft. I'm excited for the offseason. It's getting to the exciting part of the year. I know that obviously the season is fun. You want to watch your team win the championship, and we were lucky enough to watch this Boston Celtics team get to do that this season. But in the offseason, it's always cool to see the switch ups, always cool to see the trades, what teams are going to become dominant, what teams are digressing, what teams are staying in the middle, and ultimately trying to find out who the real competitors are and who the pretenders are. And that's the fun about the offseason, getting to see all the movement, all the switch up, and the draft is just the beginning of that. Luckily for us, with the new CBA, we've gotten to see a trade already before the draft, but I do expect that tomorrow, regardless if it's the Boston Celtics making a move or not, I do expect a lot of moves to happen at the draft between all 30 NBA teams. So I think it'll be an exciting day tomorrow. I think Thursday will be exciting as well with the second round. We'll have coverage for that as well. Again, like I mentioned, if the Celtics make a selection, we'll cover who they selected and why they selected and dive into their player style and do all that. We'll have multiple videos coming out about each player. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date, if you want to make sure you want to get all the daily Celtics content right away, make sure that you are tapped in to Celtics Digest right here. If you want to make sure you stay up to date, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I really, really do appreciate every single one of you guys today that are on the stream tonight. It's really, really amazing that you guys have shown your support throughout the entire offseason. Everybody new coming in here, and the news is not going to be slowing down. We're going to be staying ready, staying up to date with everything. The live streams are going to be happening once a week, like I mentioned, so make sure to stay up to date on those. We'll keep you updated in the community page. If you want to talk more Celtics, click the link down on the pin to join the Discord. Let's look at the last comments before we head out. Can't think of anyone we need. Maybe someone who can come off the bench like Brizzy. That's what I was saying. Probably a guy like a utility defender, or maybe you could even look that way in free agency. I'm going to go live. Can I get a shout out? What's up, Alec? How we doing? How we doing, Alec? Hope you're having a good night tonight, man. Crampy wants Tice. Well, guys, we broke down the draft. We went over what everything is supposed to be happening around this team. We'll cover it one last time for you guys. Brad Stevens says it'll be hard for any draft pick to crack a rotation when healthy, but also says that he anticipates on actually using the Celtics 2 draft picks this year in pick 30 and pick 54, which would be new things for Brad Stevens, as it would be the first time he ever uses a first round pick in the first round as a GM. Brad Stevens followed that up with saying last year was the time to trade due to the fact that it is harder with the new CBA, where he states that where he likes a bunch of people in this draft, but stating that in the second round with people having NIL deals near the 40s, it's going to be a little bit harder to draft. He also mentions that obviously it's a great opportunity again to be able to bring a guy to help us in down the road, and saying that if there's multiple guys at pick 30, they'll definitely make a decision on who they want. But at pick 30, if there's a guy that they like, they will select him. So I'm expecting a selection tomorrow, regardless if it's 30, regardless if it's a little bit up. I'm expecting to see somebody selected with this team. We'll keep you updated. We'll keep you all up to date on everything with this team as we have the draft tomorrow, and then obviously free agency coming up in the next couple weeks, and obviously Tatum's extension, Derrick White's extension, a bunch of stuff looming with this squad. But like I mentioned, I really, really do appreciate every single one of you coming in here, hanging out, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Last two comments before we head out. Do you like the idea of Tobias Harris? I do not. I don't think that Tobias Harris necessarily fits our scheme, and we don't have the money to get Tobias Harris, unfortunately. And Nick Claxton would be nice as well, but again, unfortunately, I don't believe that we have the money to get both of those guys. Both of those guys are going to be commanding at least $20 million, and the Celtics do not have that as they are already in the second apron salary restrictions. Like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in this stream. You guys are greatly, greatly appreciated. Like I said, streams weekly will be here. Really, really appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. More Celtics content on the way. Once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in the next stream, in the next video. Peace out. Have a great rest of your night, and go Boston Celtics.